Mending Wall by Robert Frost. I want you to write down as many annotations as you can and notes from memory, and then take out your own notes, add those to it, and then we'll begin this analysis. Taking the title first, we can see that mending is a verb for healing or fixing, while a wall can be a metaphor for something that blocks one way, whether it's physical or even psychological. In this sense, I believe that this wall is that mind block or that psychological block. The poem is written in blank verse. To remind you that a blank verse is no rhyme, there's no rhyming within the lines, but it still adheres to a metrical pattern, so there's an even meter on each line. Each line is an equal enough length and still phonetically works. He uses internal rhyming and also some alliteration throughout that's scattered there to also give this kind of tied together, so it's not entirely a loose form. The poem is also one long single stanza, unbroken and therefore perhaps embodying the spirit of a wall. Starting off, there is some unknown force at work, something that doesn't love this wall, whether it's in frozen the ground when it swells up, or even in the sun where boulders fall over. So essentially throughout all the seasons, something is breaking down this wall. Is nature itself trying to break down this wall that divides these two fields? He then wonders if it's hunters leaving stones unturned to find rabbits, so wide that perhaps two people can walk through this wall. Who could be doing this? No one has seen or heard them. Thus it seems like some sort of mystical force is at work pulling apart this wall. In spring he goes with his neighbour to go fix the wall. Every spring, and it's symbolic for a time of change. Spring brings new promises and new ideas. The central message appears here, where we go out of our way to keep others apart from us, and they set the wall between each other once again. To each boulder that have fallen to each, and some are loaves, and I believe these loaves are in fact a biblical reference. This biblical allusion is because loaves are often seen as a metaphor in Christianity for sharing and goodwill. Taking examples of, say, at the Last Supper, where Jesus and his disciples break bread, or even the loaves and fishes that are shared amongst the village population. These are all different metaphors for how we must share our loaves with one another. Here he pauses and thinks to himself, there is no competition, no threat. I have an apple orchard and he has pine trees. There is nothing that's going to threaten each other or cause confusion. Why need a wall? Good fences make good neighbours. This is the motto that the farmer has, which, interesting that the word neighbour is used, as it contradicts the biblical command of love thy neighbour, an important moral of Christianity. Frost reiterates the word spring, emphasizing the need for change. Frost then plays with this and tries to put a notion in his head. Why do we need this? Where are the cows? What are we walling in or out? And to whom am I giving offence? It's a series of critical thinking questions, thinking outside the box and adding valid logic. Something to an old school conservative is seen as a dangerous thing. Classic example of what Frost does, he repeats a line previously, something there that doesn't love a wall. He wants to think of it as something magical or mystical, and he wants to nearly say, perhaps elves are doing it, but he knows that this would be a crazy thing to say. Something supernatural wants the barrier removed, and he can't describe it, so hence why he almost says elves, but decides best not to say such a thing in case he's seen as crazy. He then describes him holding up a stone with two hands to repair the wall, and it seems he's almost like a brute or a savage or a caveman, far behind anything and quite illogical. This man doesn't want to be annoyed with valid logic or reasonable questions. He just wants to get on with it. Stick to his mantra. This darkness is a form of ignorance in Frost's eyes. He repeats again his father's saying, good fences make good neighbours. This repetition emphasizes his small-minded attitude to the matter. Some messages of the poem, I think there are many. We build barriers for no reason. The farmer refuses to pull down the wall because he follows his father's saying. He's adhering to distance due to the heritage and culture of his family. Just because his family have always done this, he thinks he should continue it on and not change his ways. Nature wishes to destroy these barriers. These barriers that we make, these walls, are unnatural. They don't have to be just physical walls. We also put barriers around our feelings, our thoughts, intentions, possessions, and our attention towards our neighbours, our friends, our family, and others around us. We're always defensive for no reason. When you look at international barriers today and separation of societies and groups and everything else in this world, both in Frost's time and even in modern times, we can see this wall acts as a microcosm. So it's a minute example or a small example of something that helps to explain a bigger picture, a more important point. So this wall is a microcosm for the way we behave, the masks that we put up, the fact that we don't share our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, our affection for others, the fact that nations and states don't allow migration between each other, the fact that societies board up each other, the fact that racism occurs, the fact that people can't join certain groups or societies because of the fact that they are different or because their past lives or heritage have dictated that they shouldn't mix. These are the walls that Frost is trying to tell us we must pull down.